I have dealt with acne since I was in middle school. It has been one of the absolute worst experiences ever. When I was 12, in 6th grade, I had really painful cystic acne start to pop up all over my face. I was able to control it for a while, but as I grew up and I went into high school, it only started getting worse. By the time I got to college, I had tried literally everything. Creams, antibiotics, topical medicines, different face washes, literally anything you can think of, I've tried it. Once I got to college, I resorted to trying hormonal therapy for my acne. This helped for a little bit, but it didn't completely clear it up. Unfortunately, that medicine also caused weight gain, mood changes, and a whole bunch of other symptoms that weren't really that great. After I stopped that medication, my acne blew up. It had never been this bad. I had always heard of Accutane as something that people with really severe acne used, and I guess I never really considered mine to be severe until it got to the point where I literally didn't want to leave my house, and I would cry every single day when I woke up because I was so insecure about my acne. Finally, I decided that it was time to look into Accutane to get rid of my acne completely. So today I'm going to take you guys through that journey and kind of tell you some of the things that I dealt with while I was on Accutane, my experience with it, how my skin did, how my body felt while I was on it. I'll tell you about my side effects, I'll tell you about my results, and I have plenty of pictures to show you along the way. If you didn't know, Accutane is a pretty intense medication. It has some pretty serious side effects on your body, and it actually takes a pretty big toll on your liver and your pancreas while you're on it. For this reason, Accutane isn't an option for a lot of people because they might have other health issues. I was one of those people. I never really considered Accutane as an option for me because I had underlying health concerns, and my doctors were a little bit worried about me trying such an intense medication. Luckily, after a lot of talking with them, I convinced them to let me at least try Accutane and see how my body did with it. While you're on Accutane, you need to go through a lot of testing before, during, and after your treatment. You have to get your blood drawn every month. If you're female identifying, you have to join a program called iPledge. iPledge is a program where you basically have to sign a contract saying that you won't get pregnant while you're taking Accutane. Accutane is really dangerous for pregnant women because it can have some really serious side effects on the fetus. If this is something that you can't commit to while you're on Accutane, they actually won't allow you to go on the medication. It's pretty intense. There's a lot of side effects that happen while you're on Accutane. Some of them can be as simple as dry skin and dry lips. Some of them can be as serious as liver damage and digestive issues. I'll get into my side effects in a little bit. So I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get on this medication. I ended up actually having to get blood tests every single week, and I had to monitor how my body was feeling really closely for the first month. Regardless, I was so desperate to get rid of my acne that I was willing to do pretty much anything at this point. So I talked with my doctors, I talked with a dermatologist, and finally I got my prescription. Now let's go back in time to see what my skin looked like before I started Accutane. So as you can see from this picture, it was bad. It was really painful. I had a whole bunch of cysts and whiteheads, blackheads. My skin was also really oily and irritated. My first month of starting Accutane, nothing really changed except for the fact that my lips got super dry and my skin started to dry up too. This picture was taken right before I took my first dose of Accutane, so nothing had really happened to my skin yet. It was just a mess. Throughout my first month, my skin didn't really improve that much. I really only started experiencing minor side effects. I had dry lips, dry skin, and I had some sun sensitivity. One thing that you really have to make sure you do while you're on Accutane is wear sunscreen. I can't tell you how badly my face burned for the first month when I wasn't wearing sunscreen like I was supposed to, because I hadn't really done it before, but let me tell you, it was not pleasant. So make sure that you're wearing a really good sunscreen throughout your whole Accutane process, and actually you should be wearing sunscreen in general. My lips would get so dry at the corners and all around my mouth that I wouldn't even be able to open my mouth all the way because my lips would literally crack. It was so bad. But other than that, month 1 was pretty uneventful. Month 2 was where it all kind of blew up. My skin started purging like crazy. Purging is basically when your skin is pushing out all of the dirt and debris that's been buried under layers of skin in your face. So basically it caused new acne for me, and my acne got even worse. Month 2 side effects really were the same as month 1, just worse. The dry lips continued, the dry skin continued, and the sun sensitivity continued. I didn't see any improvement. I didn't really see any change between month 1 and month 2. Month 3, my skin started to clear up a little bit. The dryness that was in my skin was starting to kind of subside, and it felt like there wasn't much new acne coming up. It wasn't a huge change by any means, but there were definitely smaller steps towards my skin improving. The side effects of month 3 were the ones that really started to bother me. Before then, the dryness and the dry lips and the sun sensitivity didn't really bother me that much, but month 3, things started to get worse. I started to experience some back pain, which is pretty common with people that take Accutane. It started really in my lower back and kind of radiated up my spine. It wasn't crippling by any means, but it was just kind of uncomfortable. So sitting for long periods of time or even exercising started to be uncomfortable for me. That's one thing that your doctor will tell you to avoid actually when you're on Accutane is intense exercise, because some of these joint and ligament issues that can come up. So I avoided exercising for pretty much my entire time on Accutane. The other thing that started happening on month 3 was the dryness in my nose, which was so weird. My nose felt like it was shriveling up from the inside out. I actually got a bloody nose like once a day. And actually when I wake up in the morning, my nose would hurt because of how dry it was. It was super weird. But again, month 3, there was still acne there, but it definitely felt like it was taking steps towards getting better. Month 4 and 5 were probably the worst months while I was on Accutane. I started to get really discouraged because my skin was not improving in the way that I had hoped. My dermatologist told me that I wouldn't see results until the end of my treatment, but I didn't really want to believe him. I was hoping that at least there'd be some kind of improvement throughout the 5 months that I was on the medication, but I literally saw no change until the very end of my treatment. So I started to get pretty sad. I was convincing myself that Accutane wasn't going to work for me and that I'd be stuck with acne forever, and my mental health kind of took a nosedive. That's another side effect that comes up in a lot of people that take Accutane, is actually depression and anxiety. Some people actually can get suicidal thoughts from being on Accutane, which is pretty scary. That's why you have to see your dermatologist every month so that they can monitor your mental health and make sure that you're not having too intensive side effects. If you do end up having mental health side effects, oftentimes your dermatologist will lower your dose just a little bit to give your body some time to adjust. For me, the mental health changes didn't really feel like they were from the medication. It felt like it came from the disappointment of me thinking that the medicine wasn't going to work. I wasn't having any suicidal thoughts. I wasn't having any intense anxiety or depression. It really just felt like I was sad. So I decided to not lower my dose and just stick it out until the end because I really, really wanted this to work. The side effects got pretty bad in month 4 and 5. My joint pain got way worse, and it started to creep up in my hips, in my knees, and even more so in my back. I was able to go on small walks around just my neighborhood in the beginning of Accutane, but as I got to the end of my treatment, it actually was painful to even do that. Sitting for long periods of time, not moving for long periods of time, felt like my joints were like stiffening up and that I wouldn't be able to move them without really intense pain. The other thing that started happening to me was the digestive issues, and this was probably the worst of it. For me, I started having really slowed digestion. I had really upset stomach all the time. It just felt like my body wasn't doing what it normally did. It ended up causing more indigestion than I had expected. Again, all of these side effects didn't get to the point where I felt like I had to stop taking Accutane right that second, but they were uncomfortable in the sense that I would really seriously consider if you can take these severe side effects for your whole 5 months. I have a pretty high pain tolerance because I've dealt with a lot of health issues in my life. And so for me, none of these side effects were bad enough that I felt like I needed to stop Accutane right then. I was able to pretty much stick it out until the end, and my treatment actually ended up stopping even quicker than I had anticipated. Originally, I was supposed to be on 80 milligrams for 6 months. Towards the end of the 5th month, maybe in the last 3 weeks, my skin really took a turn, and so I was able to actually stop even earlier than was anticipated. So end of month 5 is when finally, it all paid off. It felt like overnight my skin was like cured. Usually throughout my whole acne journey, I would get new pimples every single night. I would wake up in the morning and there'd be like 5 more. I woke up one morning and suddenly that was over. My skin was healing really well and my scars were actually going down too. I can't even tell you the last time I've woken up without a pimple. It felt like my life revolved around how bad my skin was that day, and now I didn't have to worry about that at all. I always hated wearing makeup like my entire life, but I always felt like I had to because I was always covering up acne, and suddenly that wasn't my reality anymore. I was able to throw away a whole bunch of my old makeup because I really seriously didn't need it. I was comfortable taking pictures of myself, going out, seeing friends, going to school with no makeup on, which I seriously don't think I've ever had that experience in my life. Being an actress and being in school for musical theater, I had to cake makeup on my face all the time. The pain I would feel when I'd have to put on that thick, creamy stage makeup over all of this irritated acne skin was horrific. And the fact that I didn't have to do that anymore, I can't even tell you how relieved I felt. So 5 months of pain was definitely worth it. Now that we've gone through my whole Accutane journey, I want to give you some tips that you can use if you decide to go on Accutane too. Tip number 1, get a really good moisturizer. I think part of the reason why my face improved so dramatically was because of my moisturizer. So for the longest time, I didn't understand the difference between dry skin and dehydrated skin, and there's actually a huge difference. Dry skin usually looks like flaky, textured patches on your face. Dehydrated skin actually can look like oily skin. Dehydrated skin actually means that the moisture barrier in your face has been damaged. So in order to balance that, your skin actually starts to produce more oil to try and get some of the moisture back in your face. This is what was happening to my skin. I had damaged my moisture barrier from using so many intense acne products that were actually just stripping my skin of its moisture and basically making my acne worse. My dermatologist told me while I was on Accutane to stop using all intense products completely. He said that I needed to have a really, really gentle, moisturizing skincare routine to help my skin heal. The CeraVe moisturizer literally changed my life. This moisturizer specifically works to repair the moisture barrier in your skin and regain some of the balance that your skin needs. I would slather this on my face twice a day, sometimes even more. I think a week after I started using this stuff consistently, I noticed a difference in my skin. So I would recommend getting this product 100% if you're gonna go on Accutane. The second tip that I have for you is get a good sunscreen. I will repeat this until the day I die. This is one of my favorite sunscreens. I actually got it from my dermatologist. This sunscreen doesn't leave any white cast, it's not sticky, it lays really well under makeup too, so there's really no excuse to not have a sunscreen if you use a product that's as good as this one. It has niacinamide in it too, which helps with acne. The third tip I have for you is Aquaphor. You need to get Aquaphor if you're going to be on Accutane. No chapstick, no Vaseline, nothing in the world would work like Aquaphor worked for my lips. I would recommend slathering this on before you go to bed, and when you wake up in the morning, your lips will be soft. I use this so many times throughout the day too. I think I went through like 3 tubes of Aquaphor. The fourth tip I have for you is to make sure that you take your Accutane with a really fatty meal. This is something that your dermatologist will probably tell you before you go on Accutane. Accutane can be pretty intense on your digestive system, like I talked about before. A way that you can combat this is by eating a really fatty meal every time you take your Accutane. This also will make sure that your body completely absorbs the Accutane and really will make sure that it works the best. I would always take my Accutane with some avocado, eggs, peanut butter, chocolate, ice cream. This is true with any intense medication, but it just kind of acts like a barrier between the medicine and your digestive system so that it's not completely wrecking you every time you take it. The last tip I have for you is trust the process. I need you to know that if you just hold on through the really difficult parts, you will literally have your life changed by how well this medication worked. For me, the amount of relief, the amount of confidence that it's given me is totally worth everything that I went through while I was on the medication. A lot of people, when they don't struggle with acne, don't realize how actually intense it can be on your mental health and your self-esteem. I would cry every day when I woke up because I really didn't want to see people when my face was looking like this. It really damaged my self-esteem and my self-confidence, and I had really bad negative self-talk for a long time because of my acne. Once my acne was gone, it felt like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. It finally felt like acne wasn't the thing controlling my life anymore. If you have the ability to try this medication, I would say do it. Obviously, the side effects are going to affect everybody in a different way. I would just make sure you're in really close contact with your dermatologist while you're starting the Accutane to make sure that you guys are on track of all the side effects that are going on with you. Whether or not you're willing to go through some of those side effects to get the end results, that's going to be different for everybody. I thought it was going to be worse for me, and it ended up not being so bad. So maybe that'll be the same for you. I'll leave the links to the products I mentioned in this video in the description box below. That's pretty much it though. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was informative for you and it answered some of the questions that you might have about going on Accutane. That's it for today, and I will see you next week. Bye!